Is this era of lightweight contenders fraudulent? This post has been making the rounds on social media, and it got me thinking, yeah, pretty much all of the lightweight contenders that were supposed to make the leap forward in the past year have pretty much all failed for the most part. And I kind of talked about it in this video, but for some reason the contenders cannot get past the unks, and it's been very hard for this division to move up new names for the next generation. Pretty much every other division has completely moved on. Really good example of this is the top of welterweight, which is pretty much all new names with Islam Makhachev on top and young killers filling out the top 5. But lightweight, sure, you got the top guys that are young, like Ilia Topuria as champion and Arman as really the #1 contender, but you still have Justin Gaethje in here about to fight for the belt. Then Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway rounding out the top rankings, which pretty much keep the middle guys from moving up. And then funnily enough, those middle of the pack guys have kept the rest from moving up. And the joke gets even better when these guys in the top rankings keep other young names from entering the top 15. So why the hell can't the young lightweight contenders get past the unks? And is this generation really fraudulent? Alright, let's go back to this picture one more time. Starting with Paddy Pimblett, this was the big one that failed for the division and for the UFC as a promotion. Dana worked overtime to make Paddy Pimblett a star. He put him on the biggest cards, promoted the hell out of him, promoted his look, his voice, and personality, and especially with the fabricated beef between him and Ilia Topuria, Dana and the UFC went as far as to leapfrog him over the #1 contender in Arman and give him an interim title shot. That was supposed to be a layup of a fight against an aging Justin Gaethje, at least on paper. But this is not at all what happened. Like I said in this video, Paddy Pimblett just doesn't have the wrestling to get Justin to jiu-jitsu territory and did not have the striking to keep up with Justin Gaethje. The one thing he did prove right in this fight is that Scousers don't get knocked out, but they sure as hell get a beating. And like in the words of Ilia Topuria, all he had to do was get past a 38-year-old Justin Gaethje, which he should have done a majority of the time, and he would have had his superstar moment and superstar payday. Their beef could have possibly been settled on the biggest stage in UFC history, but instead a representative of the old guard is getting his 3rd title shot instead of the next generation. Now moving on to Daniel Zellhuber, this dude is probably the most fraudulent lightweight contender on the roster. Holy guacamole. I wanted to root for this guy early. He's super young at only 26, tall and big as hell for this division at 6'1", and I thought he would have been a Mexican star for this division, but he didn't just shit the bed against an old guy once. He's done it twice now. He was around a -500 favorite against the 38-year-old Michael Johnson, who is of course way past his prime, but for some reason the only strike he could throw was a high kick that couldn't land. Meanwhile, Michael Johnson's boxing was on point, dropped Zellhuber bad in this 2nd round. And it's funny because it was the 26-year-old that looked slow and sluggish, while the 38-year-old was landing at will with speed Zellhuber could not see. And they say lightning never strikes twice, right? Zellhuber immediately got a layup of a fight in his next one against 39-year-old Bobby Green. Again, Zellhuber was a huge, around -400 favorite and held every physical advantage against him. But again, it was the boxing that Zellhuber could not keep up with. Green was landing at will, and in the 2nd round this time, he got dropped bad on his feet, proceeded to take more damage because of Herb Dean and got finished. Zellhuber, for a young 26-year-old, surprisingly does not have the speed or reaction time to keep up with the unks and is now on a 3-fight losing streak, with the last 2 being very, very bad in terms of his stock, and he's nowhere near entering the rankings now. Then you have Ignacio Bahamondes, and I was high on this guy too early. You have another tall, young, lengthy Latino that was supposed to be the next big thing, especially after his exciting win against Jalen Turner, but he first fell to Rafael Fiziev, another guy that is stuck in place in the rankings and couldn't get past the old guard, and then recently lost to Tafik Musayev, which granted was a bullshit loss. Musayev cheated bad here and kept the fight on the ground, leading to the victory, but still, Bahamondes was probably supposed to beat Fiziev here given all the advantages, but ironically came up short here and remains bottom of the top 15. Then recently you have Chris Duncan, who was supposed to beat Moicano and get into the top 15. I love Moicano, he's hilarious, but I really wanted to see Chris Duncan in the top 15. All of his fights are absolutely insane. He's a high finisher, was looking like a problem for the lightweight division, but like Moicano shut down BST's hype, he also shut down Chris Duncan's hype with superior grappling. and eventually got the submission over the prospect to keep his spot in the rankings. Also recently, you have Estevan Ribovics, also a high finisher, succumb to the old guard in Gamrot, who couldn't keep up with the grappling and eventually got finished in the second. Then finally, you have Grant Dawson in this picture, who couldn't get past Bobby Green in 2023 and got KO'd bad by Manuel Torres, who, speaking of, is one of the only good rising prospects who even then had his career slowed down by a knockout loss to Ignacio Bahamondes. But there are some sleeper lightweight contenders that are solid new names working up the rankings. Manuel Torres, like I said, is coming up violently, with all his fights ending in finishes. He was supposed to fight Beneil Dariush to up his stock, but unfortunately got injured. But fortunately for us, another up-and-coming name in the lightweight division, Kilian Salkild, is here to possibly kill another minority. Salkild has been on an absolute tear in the UFC, taking out everybody of color from Anshul Jubli to Nasrat Hakparas, and shit, even took out his own in Malarkey last time out. And now with Beneil in his sights, oh lord, we might see another murder in May. He definitely is a guy to keep on your radar if you haven't already, and just has that one-hitter quitter and is super fun to watch. And with a win over Beneil, hopefully we can get a young killer in the top 15 and finally get Beneil out for good. Then you have the middle of the pack guys like Fiziev, Rufi, Paddy, like previously mentioned, and Benoit Saint-Denis, who all failed when they were given their chance to leap into the top rankings. It started with Fiziev losing to Justin, then Benoit Saint-Denis getting starched by Dustin, then Rufi failing to get past Benoit Saint-Denis, and finally and most recently Paddy getting the bricks beat out of him by Justin. Even though they couldn't break into the top 3, eventually I do think they will. BSD, since going on that 2-fight losing streak, changed his camp and game plan's way better now and looks very good on this 4-fight win streak with big wins over Rufi, Dariush, and Hooker. And you know what? If these guys are going to stay in the middle of the pack for a while, give them to each other. Paddy confirms he's going to be fighting for International Fight Week, and there's a lot of rumors that it's going to be BSD, which is going to be a guaranteed banger and is a fight that I've been calling for. BSD versus Rufi was insane. Rufi versus Fiziev ended in a surprising finish. Again, if these guys are gonna have to wait for the old heads on the top, I'm sure the fights against each other are going to be very entertaining for the meantime and have proven to be. But we still haven't answered the question, have we? Why can't this lightweight generation move up the rankings? Simply put, this generation of lightweights is the greatest group of fighters we've ever seen. I challenge you to name another generation of fighters in a single division. Maybe 205 with John Jones, Daniel Cormier, Alexander Gustafsson, Glover Teixeira, Rumble Johnson, but the longevity of this generation of lightweights is absolutely absurd. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, and Islam just completely dominated the competition, and their style aged so damn well, even in their later years. Look at the stat from Dustin. He's been a ranked lightweight since 2016. Same with Justin Gaethje. He debuted against Michael Johnson, who was ranked 5, and has stayed in the top rankings since that day forward. These guys are some of the greatest fighters of all time, and this division is an absolute Shark Tank. I mean, even though Arman got through to the top, he still had an incredibly tough test to get there against Charles Oliveira. So all in all, I think it's a little bit of both. This is an all-time generation to get past, but I also think that the lightweight generation that's coming in is not that good. They do a couple things elite, but if you want to get past these guys, you have to be elite in practically everything to compete. So for lightweight to move on, they kind of have to wait, and wait a lot longer than you think. Even the bottom tier unks like Bobby Green and Michael Johnson still have it at 38-39, which is concerning for this division, but eventually Father Time should be undefeated. Sooner or later, the young guys will have to bubble up, and we do have 2 chances in the near future with Salkild and Rufi to prove that very soon. So anyways, what do you guys think about the lightweight division, and especially the young contenders that are trying to move up and get into the top 15? Are they good enough to finally get past guys like Justin, guys like Charles Oliveira, who are still in the top rankings, Max Holloway also, or are they just not that good enough to get into the top rankings and they're just going to stay in the middle or out of the rankings? Anyways, I'd like to thank your guys' support as always, and I'll see you in the next week. Peace.